Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Love Soul Movement podcast. We've been on hiatus for a while. I'm going to tell you the little story about why I was on hiatus because it has a lot to do with the guest that I have today. So one of the biggest reasons why I kind of took a step back from the podcast is you guys knew about the blood clot that I had in my brain. We found out that the reason why that blood clot happened was because I have a very rare bone marrow cancer. And it's so rare that the most information that I was actually able to find out about it was by patients that I talked to, that I contacted through like a Facebook page. Like it's so incredibly rare and really hard to find. So during that time that I was on hiatus, I had this lovely woman that I have here today. She reached out to me, and it's very rare that you find people in life that want to do things for other people with zero expectations, with nothing to like give back. There was like nothing that she wasn't searching for anything. She wasn't trying to like get anything back. She just wanted to help me. And so we had a conversation, and what her specialty is helping to heal people that have trauma stored in the body that has shown up as diseases, which is dis-ease in the body, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. But she had presented to work with me on a regular basis to help me emotionally release a lot of things that I was holding on to still, that I had stored, like going through this really long awakening and having to go through a whole other brand new awakening. It was like perfect timing for her to show up. So Priya, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. She's very special to me, and she's really helped me out quite a bit. And I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation because I think it's so incredibly important. We don't talk about this enough, and we've gone through so many traumatic events in the last 2 years. This whole country, this whole world, not even just this country. Priya's in Canada, so even she's gone through the traumatic events, this whole world. And you can see it happening too. Like everything's crumbling down, and the anger that rises up that we see in the media, and all of that happening, and the division even more, like the mass division even more that we have. So I think that this is a very important conversation that we're going to have today. And so thank you very much.
Thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast.
Yeah, it's so great. So what I'd really like for you to do is go ahead and introduce yourself, and in your own words, tell you what you do and what your background is and all of that stuff, and how you kind of came to be. I think that everybody would love to hear this story.
So, hi, my name is Priya Jhaveri. I am a trauma bodywork specialist, energy healer, intuitive, holistic nutritionist, multiple things. I actually reached out to Betsy because I had been following her for many years on YouTube, watching her horoscope videos and tarot reading videos. And when I saw her update on her health, I decided to reach out. I felt really called, like the universe was like, here, go help her. And she took me up on it, and we have been doing sessions ever since, and we've become really good friends. So so basically how I really got into trauma body work was through my journey with chronic illness, and realizing that there was a huge trauma piece to my illness. I had been in fourth year university. I'd been suffering so badly with my health for my whole life, pretty much, chronic illness. But fourth year university really took the cake. My OCD had gotten so bad. I didn't even realize it was OCD, but I just had really bad intrusive thoughts, like really bad anxiety, to the point where I could barely function. I barely graduated. It was a horrible, horrible year. And so after I really took my health into my own hands, and I went to go see naturopaths and doctors and pretty much everybody under the sun, no one could tell me what this was. At the time, I didn't know it was OCD. And then I was on Instagram one day and I'd been suffering so badly inside, just like the inner conflict and the torment like you go through when you go through something like that is awful. Like you just feel so stuck in your mind, in your head. And so I had been on Instagram and I saw the medical medium and he put a post up that said, heavy metal toxicity causes OCD. And he described exactly in the description what I had been going through. And I was like, that's it. That's my key. Like, that's exactly what I need. So I followed his protocol for about a year and I healed myself and through his stuff. And I became so interested in holistic nutrition at that point because I was like, wow, this is so powerful. I want to heal myself holistically. For me, that was just my choice. But so I just fell in love with that and I got my holistic nutrition designation and it was going well and I was feeling really good. However, there was trauma still. There was trauma from the experience. There was trauma deep down, even inner child stuff that I didn't even know about, contributing to the illness and disease that I had. And so I needed to deal with the PTSD from that. And so that took another layer of my health and healing journey. It was like the up level from where I was. So I healed my body, but I was still left with the PTSD from that. So healing the trauma and going deeper into energy healing, which I had been a Reiki practitioner for a long time before that. So I knew that there was an energy component there. And I wanted to dive into that because I still felt so unwell. Even though I was doing all the things that I knew I was supposed to be doing, I still felt really unwell. So I started to really dive into trauma body work and working with the universe and them downloading to me how trauma energy is stored in the body from our experiences in this lifetime and how that can affect our health, how that can affect our body and our limiting beliefs, our neural pathways and all this stuff. So that's pretty much my journey. And then I just started healing from that and creating meditations and helping other people heal energetically. And after a while, I felt better than I had ever felt in my life. Like that's just the truth of it, because you can do everything under the sun for your health and things work for you, protocols work for you. But if you're still left with that trauma energy and that nervous system shock and the body still remembering what you had gone through and having your body store that trauma within you, you're still going to feel unwell. You're not going to feel healed. And so,
right.
Yeah. So that's what I
Well,
was.
and it's so interesting. Like another good way to think about that, like what happens is, when we have something happen to us, what she's talking about is what the body stores that information of that traumatic event that happened, and it doesn't have to be, I think a lot of people don't understand that traumas happen in all shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to be a big catastrophe. It doesn't have to be, like an event, this huge gigantic event that happened for you to be traumatized there. There's a lot of things that can create unsafe feelings, and that's trauma, inside. And so when that event happens, our bodies remember that event, and that's that PTSD. Like, for example, when I broke my thumb, I remember the next day I kept hearing the cracking when I broke my thumb. And I was like so traumatized by the fact that I could remember that I heard my bone crack. And I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you, but that's literally like the best example. Like you literally are storing that trauma, because every time I would think about it, my thumb would start throbbing again. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't hit my thumb. Nothing happened. It was just an automatic, because my body, and even now talking about it, my thumb's like, oh, hey, it's still throbbing because it's only been a month out. So
I mean,
Um,
the
yeah,
body's the most intelligent machine. It is literally the most intelligent thing on this planet.
yeah,
In the universe, like it's so intelligent where it can store your trauma so you can still function, so you can still move throughout your day. And then years later, pain will come up because it's like, okay, well, now you need to heal this, or you need to
yeah,
look at this.
yeah,
And that's what trauma body storage really is. For what I've downloaded and what I feel is, it just stores in your organs, your body, your nervous system. And then over time, that starts to build up, right? And then that starts affecting the physical makeup of your body. And it's just wild to me. It's
yeah. And
wild.
just like what we were conversing just before we started the recording, we were talking about how I mean, of course there's a connection to my extremely rare bone marrow, the part that builds up the body. Basically, like, you have to have your bone marrow
Yeah.
to get things working, but it's like the very building blocks of who I, my body, my
Mm-hmm.
human form. And my whole life was constant survival mode. I never had a foundation that made me feel safe,
Yeah.
because nobody in my environment felt safe either. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, and it's not even their fault, right? Like, their safety was because of their own traumas, their own things they went through. So
Yeah.
bringing babies into the world in that unsafe environment, they didn't realize that that was going to be the foundation that
Yeah.
these children grew up to. So, but I think, and one of the things that keeps on popping up in my head that I have to bring up before we go into any further, one of the things that you talked about when you were talking about your background is when it comes to trauma body healing and it comes to holistic approaches, you
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that you're doing what's best for you, what you feel is right for yourself. This is in
Absolutely.
no way, neither one of us are doctors. This is
No.
in no way medical advice. This is in no way anything us saying to like stop any kind of treatments that you're doing or anything like that. And I just want to 100% make sure that everybody understands that before we move forward. Priya and I are coming to you as healers ourselves, intuitive healers ourselves, and knowing what has worked for us. And when I started to work with my own healing energy for my own body, I mean, the fact that I broke my thumb and I have this bone marrow disorder and I broke my thumb and a month later it's already almost completely healed is pretty amazing in itself. And that shows me that the energy in my body is already healing me. And people can say, well, if you already have healing energy in your body, then why did this cancer show up? Why did this present itself?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the traumas that I have been through
Yep.
in my life, and that buildup and that holding on to my body, baby, ain't nobody's going to stop that.
No.
And
No.
until I healed a lot of that structural foundation catastrophe mess that I, myself,
Yeah.
came out from. And what is unfortunate is that you and I are not the only ones that are in this position where they have something very rare happening to them. There's literally no explanation the doctors can give me. This is so rare. They
Yeah.
cannot say, and the handful of people that I have talked to, there's nothing in common. I have
Mm.
nothing, it's and very funny. So there are so many people out there that have pain that they don't know
Yeah.
where it comes from. And I don't want this to be a conversation where we talk about the traumas in our lives manifest the diseases in our bodies.
No, I
The
don't believe
word
that.
manifest only happens when we are intentionally trying to create something in our life. Nobody
Yeah.
intentionally creates disease or dis-ease
Yeah.
in
No.
their bodies. And so
No.
that's another thing that I want to make sure that everybody understands as we're
Yeah.
talking about this. This is
Yeah.
not something where we're saying, you're the one that did this to yourself. So you better,
No.
there was something that I noticed that I was very emotional about because I had read a tweet that another healer had said, and it stung me at my core, because it was like, eventually, she said something like, eventually we all have to take responsibility or accountability for the bad things that happen to us, or something. It was something like that. I don't know if that wasn't her exact words. I don't want to be quoted on that, but I just took a lot of offense. I was like, how dare you? I did not ask for this.
No.
I did not manifest this into my life. Are you kidding me? But on the other end, there is some very realness about changing our DNA based on our emotional.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how that happens.
So just to touch on what you were saying, which is so interesting, because when I was going through the midst of like just confusion and not having any answers, and that's usually the clients I get as well, they just don't have any answers. No one can really tell them what's going on, or connecting the dots on their health. And then that's why I open the door to trauma. Like, let's look at the trauma. Let's look at the energy under that. And so when I was in the midst of everything, I also saw a lot of posts that said, oh, you've manifested this. This is something that like was always in your control and whatever. Absolutely not. No, you did not manifest your illness.
Well, and I really, in my ego, what I had to come to terms with was, yes, did I have a lot of really bad habits in my life that possibly could have confirmed this happening to me? Yeah, I was a smoker for 23 years. I drank Diet Coke like it was water. There were days I didn't even drink water. It was just Diet Coke and coffee. Like, of course, I was not always the best to my body, but everybody in the world, not everybody, but the majority of us are not the best to ourselves every single day, and they don't end up with really rare cancers, you know?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, those are the things that I'm talking about. Like, you can't beat yourself up.
No. And I think that's a really big piece of this puzzle as well. When you go through deep chronic illness, that makes you question yourself and question what you've done. It's like having ultimate love and compassion. This journey teaches you how to do that, because
absolutely,
that's a big part of the healing, to have that love and compassion and know that, no, you did not cause this. If you had a choice in the matter, would you be suffering with this? Absolutely not. Right.
Well,
so, yeah.
Right. No, and the other narrative of, you wrote this story before you came here, and you're the one that chose to go through this, and you da 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 da.
Yeah.
And the way that I would probably approach that whole situation is, regardless of whether I wrote this into my story or not, that doesn't give me the right to be the victim and create the negative energy around me, the victimhood, right? Because I know a lot of people that'll use that narrative to their advantage and just be like, see, I wrote this in my story, so there's really nothing I can do about it. So there, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And I would never promote anybody to think that this is something that there's like,
no,
and I know that I signed up for harsh lessons, whatever those harsh lessons are. I know that I signed up for that. And I know that for my own personal space. And I think that that's what everybody needs to come to terms with, is their own piece about it, and why they did it. Nobody else can tell them why they chose a particular journey.
Exactly. And having like your own personal power in your journey and having your empowerment.
That's it. Yes. That is the thing, that what I didn't understand the most is we go through, when you find out that you have a disease that you have no control over, that controls you on a daily basis, or you feel it controls you on a daily basis, you lose that power. You lose that power over who you are. And like for myself, I went through a whole dark night of the soul, like all over again. It was me having to show up all over again in there. But that was where I healed all the traumas. And that was where I really got honest with myself on not feeling guilty.
Yes.
I was healing myself and not feeling guilty for all of that. And I mean, I think that's another thing, like, being a mom, it's so hard to be sick and want to be able to take care of your kids and have to heal yourself and do, all of those things at the same time. And so it's very easy to get yourself into that, to beat yourself up. But I think I found, when I began to realize that my body was literally screaming at me to take care of it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there is no other choice anymore. You have zero options.
Yeah.
This is your only option. That's when I got my power back.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
realized that that I was the only person that had control over what was going to happen moving forward. It didn't matter what my past looked like anymore. Yes,
Mhm.
the traumas needed to be healed, and you and I worked through that big one.
Yeah.
It still creeps up every once in a while, and I think that a lot of women or people maybe even would resonate with the mother wound. We talk about the father wound quite often,
Oh, yes.
but and that is the thing that and I think for me it's more of a parent, like an overall kind of, it's not
Mhm.
even the mom anymore. I thought I healed my dad wound for a very long time, and then the mother wound came up, and I was like, oh wow, well they both, oh really, but I also have a stepdad, so that third
Yeah.
father wound. So it was very like the spider web of it all. It was like, oh my God, my
It's a
whole
lot. And I
life.
find that a lot of times illness and disease is an invitation to heal the past, heal your inner child. And I think now, and I know my parents didn't have the tools necessary to
Right.
heal. They didn't have the awareness to
Mm-mm.
heal. And so right now I feel like we're in an amazing time where tools are available. We have therapy. We have like therapy's normalized now. We have meditations. We have inner child programs. We have shadow. We have ego
Shadow
programs.
work. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is such a gift for us in this time. And then when we look back on our parents, we can kind of have that ultimate love and compassion for them and know that they didn't have a choice but to go into survival,
Right.
but to push through their trauma because it was so stigmatized to work on yourself.
It
You had to
was.
just keep going, especially for
Yeah.
women,
Mm-hmm.
even men. And so then even giving my parents alone, they suffer with a lot of chronic illness and pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And that
So
has
did
built up,
mine.
yeah, built up
Yeah.
over time. And I think if they have the tools necessary back then, they would be totally different people. And I feel like illness and disease gives us that invitation. I don't think it's a manifestation of your life
Right.
necessarily,
Right. Exactly. Oh yeah. 100%. I totally agree with that in every single thing that you said. And I think one of the other things that I had to contend with myself on, because I had to make a choice for myself on even though I knew that I was healing that wound for myself, do I really want to have the people in my life? Because that's a touchy
Mhm.
subject for a lot of people. And when people come to me and they're like, well, this happened with my parents, and I've always had this really rough, blah, 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 blah. And, what do you think I should do? And so then I tell my story, and then I say, but I tell everybody that that is a very personal decision that you have to make on your own. And I
Absolutely.
also want to say that you are an individual who is authentic and can make different choices and change your mind at any moment.
Yes.
So if you decide that you don't want to have particular people in your life at one point because you need to heal and you need that time and space, then
Yeah.
that you have every single right. I
Hmm.
don't care if they're blood related or not, to create that space. And if they don't
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
it's not up to them to like it or not. And then if you decide that you want to go back, and then if they decide at that point in time that they don't want to have anything to do with you, that was the choice that you made.
Yeah.
That you cannot be angry with them for the choices that you make, and they can't be angry with you for the choices that all of that, right?
Yeah.
Um but that's a really big thing, because I beat myself up also. It's like when you're trying to heal the trauma, and the trauma keeps on coming at you, trying to make you feel
Yes.
guilty for trying to heal the trauma, and it's like,
Yeah. It's like a
oh,
cycle.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think the one thing that breaks the cycle is owning your self-worth,
yeah,
knowing how to put up boundaries. And I feel like people who have a lot of chronic illness and pain we also have been people pleasers in our
Right.
lives.
You have
We
zero boundaries. Your
no,
boundaries are shit. Right.
yeah, totally. And we're
Yeah.
very codependent and we suffer with codependency most of our life. And that's kind of how this fear and stress and nervousness and anxiety like doesn't manifest, but it gets stuck in our body because we push it down. We're like, okay, how do I keep myself safe in the environment I'm in? So I'm just
Right.
going to push this down and push this down. And then years go by and you're pushing stuff down. It eventually comes back up, right?
Yeah. And it's so interesting because a lot of people don't understand is your environment and the people in it are so incredibly important for your healing process.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can want to hold on to certain people in our lives
Mhm.
because of all of the excuses. They're my mom, they're my dad, they're my sister, they're my brother, whatever family member, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
They've been my friend for 20 years. We've been married for 17 years, yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada. The
Mhm.
25-year-old son is my child, all that, right?
Yeah.
My adult son, adult daughter. But that's the thing is the more that we allow those excuses to rule the way our environment looks,
Mhm.
the harder it's going to heal. The people that you choose to be in your environment need to be on your side. They need to be
Yeah.
the ones that are rooting you on and saying you get to make these choices in your life for yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there, because so often we start to make these choices for ourselves and we see how the world reacts to us when we make these choices, like, how dare you be selfish, how dare you
Mhm.
take this time away from me, how dare you decide that you're going to make these changes and not discuss it with me like
Yeah.
it's any of your damn business. Why,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of the reasons why, like, I kept my business and what I was doing very quiet from in my town, in the people that I was close to my entire life. Like, I kept it very, very secret for a long
Yeah.
time because I didn't need that barrage. So the environment, and I think that's another thing that we have to make sure that people understand, that if to really allow yourself to heal from a disease that has changed your life,
Yeah.
you have to make sure that you're willing to take accountability and responsibility for the way that your environment looks.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think when you're on the healing journey, it's another invitation to really look at your life and look at your surroundings, environment, people, and then ask the question, does this serve me
yeah,
right
and
now?
I think that that's why a lot of people go through those spiritual awakenings when they get
Absolutely,
like
because
when they get the diagnosis.
yeah, because it's a really big call to look at stuff, because if you didn't go through that little part, you wouldn't be questioning your surroundings. You
Right.
would still um, not accepting, but it's like an unconscious acceptance because you've been like this for your whole life, or you've been around these people for your whole life. But
Yeah.
it's
You were programmed to believe that this was
yeah.
okay.
So it's like
Yeah,
opening up your eyes to being like, okay, well, maybe this is not the healthiest relationship for me, or maybe these
exactly.
people are not the healthiest to be around all the time. And then when you bring all your energy back to you, and it's like, okay, well, now it's quieter, so I can kind of think and question and heal myself. And I think when you're in those vulnerable times, it's good to really bring all your energy back.
That's such a
Yeah.
good point. Like, the
Yeah.
amount of people that we will distract ourselves with just so we
Yeah.
cannot hear the healing that we need to do. That is
Yeah, because it's
insane.
scary. It can be
Yeah,
scary.
it can be extremely scary. That's well, and that's one of the biggest things. Like, I think that when people are not honest with themselves their whole lives, and
Yeah.
I have a very dear friend that is kind of going through that right now, and he's just like, I'm like at the rock bottom point. Like, I can't go any
Mhm.
further than this. And and like, I'm an astrologer as well, so I know what's happening in the sky that's kind of waking everybody up, that's going
Yeah.
on. But we also have some really amazing transits that are coming up soon that are giving us opportunities, like practical opportunities to heal ourselves. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are going to start going towards therapy again, or looking for holistic practitioners for
Mhm.
therapy, and going more towards spiritual teachers. And like even myself, like I'm really thinking about opening up a mentorship kind of program to do that, as because
Yeah.
I know, and this is kind of a segue going into what I want to talk about next, is this what the whole world has gone through in the last 2 years.
Yes.
And what, because knowing that how trauma can manifest, bless the babies that have been born during this
Oh
fear
gosh.
ridden
No.
time. Like, I
You
hate that
know.
they, it's kind of like we're during 9/11. Like, my son was only 2 months old during 9/11. And the
Wow.
fact that he had to grow up in such a world of fear,
Yeah.
I know why he acts the way he acts sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. I understand. I get
Absolutely.
it. But your take, and knowing that we store trauma in the body, and knowing that all of this social distancing, and that we've absolutely, obviously had to happen because of what we were going through, the whole
Yeah.
world going through. And I think that it's very important to remind everybody that everybody has been going through it. You are not an
Mhm.
exception. Like,
Yep.
everybody has gone through something. Nobody is pretending to be like,
Nope.
I've gone through more than you. Nobody's doing that here. Like, we're not playing that game.
No.
Um, but yeah, so your take on what we might see from the children, because the children are so exceptionally smart. These
Intelligent.
babies, these Pisces and Neptune,
Oh, I
Pluto
know.
and Capricorn babies, that, like,
Yeah.
I have one of the very first ones that were made.
Yeah.
This generation, though, they're so incredibly smart, and they've already been silenced.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, what is your take? What do you think that we can probably expect from these kids as they grow up, and what we might be able to do to, like, help out?
I truly believe that the kids that have been born in this world trauma that we have been going through, the word I get is resilient. They're very resilient, very intelligent, um, and they know how to handle. It's weird, like at a soul level, they knew that they were being born in this time. I feel like they know how to handle it on such a different level. It's like us handling our trauma better than our parents did and their
Oh, yeah.
parents did. You know what I mean? But this
Okay.
is almost like like it's like a light speed. Like they are so advanced. It's wild, but I think that create like holding space for their authenticity and creating a safe environment for them at all costs is
Yeah.
truly the key to really holding
Yeah.
them in what they've already gone through and creating that supportive environment. But I think that the parents of these children have really also become very aware of their own trauma. We have been seeing that with the mental health movement. We have been seeing that with the trauma movement, and we are being accountable. It's like almost I don't want to use the word trendy, but it's everywhere. It's on TikTok, Instagram. We are being held accountable for how we feel now, which is
Mhm.
creating a safe environment for these kids to express themselves
No,
fully.
and I think that's amazing that we're able to create that kind of safety for them.
Yeah.
And I think that in more, I mean, you touching on the fact that, like, yes, we're healing more than our parents did. And the funny thing is I've kind of got two generations with my boys. My two older boys are 20 and 18 years old, and then my youngest is
Yeah.
8. So it's completely two different generations. And I can see that in both of them, where, like, maybe for my generation, I only know a handful of people from Generation X that are interested in this, what most people would call, like, hippie woo woo
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
that I do. Oh my gosh, astrology is
Yeah.
just way out there. But it's becoming more normalized, and while, yes, that will become a phase, like, it'll just be a phase, it's going to stick with a lot of people. A
Yeah.
lot of people are genuinely going to wake up through this phase of spirituality. The same thing happened in the 70s. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a
There's always ways.
Chiron and Aries, like, everybody's waking up and healing their inner warriors. Here we go. Here we go.
Yes.
But that's the thing, is like I can see with my older two how much more awake they are, and how much easier it is for them to, or quicker, not easier, it's quicker for them to pick up the concepts. Like I talked
Yes.
to my oldest son and he's just like he is totally just like, fuck all of this bullshit. Like I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna let everybody else tell me what I'm supposed to be doing in my life.
Yeah.
And of course, yes, we have to take accountability again, but that was his freedom stance kind of thing. And so
Mhm.
I can see that with both of them. I'm just um really, it's going to be very interesting because I feel like the social skills for these kids and like really having to relearn, how to be out, have birthday parties and
Yeah.
socialize with each other. And, because like we're all used to getting together on Sundays for football, but if these kids grow up but that's the thing,
Yeah.
like one of those conditioning things, but it's fun to gather. We're supposed to be in community. We're supposed to be with people. We're humans.
Yeah.
And so when a pandemic comes along and forces us apart from each other for 2 years, like it's been a very long time.
Yeah.
You've got to wonder like how this kind of collective trauma, like it's going to be very interesting to see how it not manifests. I don't want to say that word, how it shows up down the road.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall back into that word.
I know.
It's
I
really
know.
annoying because it's
Very
not
programmed
true.
into us. I
It's so
know.
programmed.
Wild.
But yeah, that was like one of those things because and I think it's so important for us to have that conversation now so that other people understand what it
Yeah.
means to be able to to heal the body and heal the trauma.
And I think just touching on the kids and stuff, I think that the beauty of right now is that we have the most advanced technology. So we can pull up a FaceTime. It's not the same thing at all, but we can pull up FaceTime, we can pull up anything and they can talk to
Yeah.
other children or their cousins or whatever. But I also do think that there is a new appreciation for community now
Oh
that
yeah.
was kind of disintegrating before, because before we were kind of taking advantage of, oh, we can see each other all the time, but now it's like, no, I appreciate the fact and I'm grateful for the fact that I get to see you in
Right.
person.
But
And
we're
I think we're
together.
going to cultivate that community more for kids now, because it's going to be so much more important to us, and we're going to value play dates. We're going to value school. We're going to value all these things where kids can just be kids and play together. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I absolutely agree. Um, so there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I was hoping that it was going to come back to me, but I completely forgot. So hopefully it comes back to me, and
It'll
I
fly
think about
back.
what it is that I want to talk about. But while my brain went like blank, I had a thought. Um, Priya and I will be doing a workshop to talk about how to help you learn how to do trauma body healing. There's going to be meditation. We're going to talk about Priya can kind of touch on the things that she's going to talk about really quick, but on my portion, I have completely learned how to live a life of love and happiness and joy and gratitude, and against all odds. Like I can't even tell you how
Oh yeah.
many odds that I
Yeah.
had thrown at me, and still managed to wake up every single day and realize just how magical my life is. And I'm just so incredibly blessed and really, really happy. And I want to help others. Like now I'm just like, I just want everybody to be happy in their life. Like, let me
Right.
show you how to do this. So on my portion of the workshop, we're going to be talking about that. And then Priya is going to talk really quick about what she's going to do as well.
Yeah, so on my end, I'm really going to walk us through on how trauma stores in the body and how we can release it, but also creating the awareness to feel what is in our body, how creating back that awareness on what we're feeling and how we tap into that. And I'm going to walk us through a beautiful meditation of release and nourishing our body. You can find more of those meditations on my healing portal, my meditation platform that I actually have, which would be linked below in the podcast notes. but yeah, it's going to be so good. So that's going to really, really connect with Betsy's portion. So after we release and nourish, you can go into feeling amazing. So
Loving
that's great.
yourself, loving yourself. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, it is a journey. It is a process. It's not going to be like one of those overnight things.
Yeah.
But I do remember what I wanted to talk about now. See how that
Ooh,
anyway.
yeah.
So that workshop, all of that information is in the description box of this video. And it's also in the description box of the podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, and iTunes, iPod or whatever, the Apple podcast. Um, so it'll be in that description. And that to be able to register for that workshop, it's on Saturday, October 23rd, which happens to be Priya's birthday. We'll be
Birthday.
saying happy birthday to Priya. And it's at noon Eastern time. So again, all of that information is in the description boxes. But what I wanted to talk about, what the things that I wanted to talk about was the importance of the nutrition part of the holistic healing your trauma, because the funny thing, and I know that I am not the only woman that does this to herself, but um I grew up in a household where food was comfort.
Yeah.
And we would have the really rich comfort foods in the wintertime. And we would always celebrate with a really rich, comforty food for birthdays and cakes and all of that stuff. But I also grew up in a household where we didn't have a whole lot of money. And so we didn't, any kind of sweets that were bought were very hoarded. They were not readily available to anybody. So I learned to hoard my food. I learned to do comfort foods when I wasn't feeling well. Like anytime I'm sick, I'm like, oh, I gotta do, like, I have to get up and make it too. Like I remember one year for my birthday, I made like a whole cheesecake for myself for my birthday when I had the flu one year. Nobody else could eat it because I made it. And I had the flu. So I got to eat the whole thing.
Oh my God.
But I mean, that just things like that, like it's very important to bring up that your nutrition is a part of the healing journey, even when it comes to the trauma body. It's not just the energy work that we do or the way that your attitude is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not a saint with my food right now. I think it's really important, especially for someone like me who trusted food, to rely on food so much,
Yeah.
particular foods, to not punish myself by saying you can't have that food because it's bad for you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, in kind of the same sentence, because I am trying to, I mean, I'm not going to think that I can miraculously make this go away, but I'm trying to extend my life a little bit more than the 25 years they've given me. So, I do watch what I eat. I do watch what I put into my mouth, even down to like, I don't eat, I'm, mostly a vegetarian. I'll eat chicken and fish every once in a while, but it's very rare. It's not every single day. So let's talk about that, since you're one of the experts.
So as a nutritionist, but as also an intuitive, over my journey, I really focused on, at the beginning, I focused a lot on what I was eating because I thought that was the problem. Little did I know that was just one moving part in this whole thing. And I want to really hit that home for everybody, that your nutrition and your diet and everything you're putting in your body is only one part of this. And so don't condemn yourself so much or restrict yourself so much or anything like that, because it's just one part of it. So touching on that, though, I also really want to create awareness and talk about the importance of creating a connection with your intuition and feeling like you were saying how you don't eat meat, you're mostly vegetarian now. Same with me as well, but that was over time. I had dabbled in what will work for me and how will this heal my body, or I need to go paleo or keto or whatever at the beginning, because I wanted to feel better. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to heal my symptoms, and I was trying things. And I think give yourself permission to try things. However, always fall back on your intuition of what you personally feel like eating at the moment in
Yeah.
time. And I think that that's really, really gonna like hyper speed your relationship with food and your food's relationship with you, because I think
Yeah.
that that's really, really important. At the beginning, when I was really, really suffering badly, I was really hardcore. I was really doing like drinking everything, like smoothies, juices, all these things to really,
Me
really,
too. Yeah.
yeah, to really, really heal, because I felt so miserable and that was the only
Mhm.
thing I could really control. Over time, I realized though, if I have healthy staples in my diet, but also can eat a bit of cake, can eat what I feel like having, bread, pasta, I will still heal. I will still heal. I'm still giving myself the nourishment and the supplements I need because my body was lacking or needed an extra detox or whatever. But I don't need to restrict myself from bread. I don't need to restrict myself from pasta. That's so mainstream, like stuff
Yeah.
we were taught, like carbs are bad for you and whatever.
Right.
I think restricting is really for people who have severe allergies or really can't digest food properly, or in extreme cases like that, we shouldn't really put on that hat and be like, "Oh, I need to restrict to get better." That's not the
No.
answer. That
Yeah,
creates more stress in your body.
for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, well, and I really like that you said that you should eat what you feel like your body wants to eat at that time.
Yeah.
Like why are you, we have cravings for a reason. And a
Mm.
lot of the times I realized that the reason why I was having crazy cravings is because I was dehydrated. Like
Mhm.
um a lot of times when I'm having to do certain things where I'm having to drink more water, more water, more water, more water, and it's flushing out my system,
Yeah.
all of a sudden start having these cravings for like greasy foods because my body
Yeah.
is like so used. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to have greasy foods, but what is like a better, like a healthier option? And so I'll get my air fryer
Yeah.
out and make some tater tots or something
Yeah.
like that, where like tricking my body, like, hey, these are tater tots, maybe they're greasy,
Yeah.
but really that's the thing. And I think a lot of it is when you start to pay attention to when your body is craving certain things and allowing yourself, like if you like, for me, I love sweets. Like I am
Mhm.
so big on sweets.
Yeah.
um but a lot of times I'll try and do like fruit, or
Mhm.
I'll get like those popsicles that are all fruit, and
Yeah.
have a little bit of cane sugar in it or something like that. But just
Yeah.
learning how to make new choices. And I love, like, there are even programs out there now, like the Noom app. I'm not sponsoring the Noom app, by the way.
Yeah.
But I love it because it's helping us to change the psychological part of our brain, not saying
Yeah.
you're a horrible person for sticking this hamburger in your mouth. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but if that hamburger is not a greasy hamburger and it's something that's, you've got fruits and vegetables and like it's a whole complete meal and you're not
Yeah.
just shoving your mouth with greasy stuff all the time, then eating that
Yeah.
hamburger is not going to be a bad thing. So
And I always find it so funny that I just have this like weird thing as where like when I'm on vacation, I'm happy, I'm having fun, I'm eating what I want and I feel so good. And then when I
yeah,
come here and I eat the same things, I have stress because we're so conditioned
yeah,
to
to believe it.
restrict and
Yeah.
diet and like have everything in a routine. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, why was I so happy and like felt really good on vacation and now I'm eating the same things here and
Right.
I'm feeling gross? But it's all about our mind. It's really a portion of it is really about our mindset and how
Right.
much we've been conditioned to disconnect from food and only have this, and this because it'll help us lose weight or whatever. It creates a
Right.
total disconnection from
Yeah.
what we actually want. So rebuilding that connection to
Can't
what
wait to
feels
have this
good.
conversation even more during the workshop. Like, that's going to be great. People
Yes.
really need
Yeah,
more of this.
absolutely.
But one of the things that pops up in my mind is that I learned about Native Americans, that, before they knew nobody knew what a clock was. When my
Mm,
ancestors didn't know what a clock was. And they ate when they were hungry. Like,
yes.
why do we feel like, I mean, we've been conditioned to believe through the clock, right? The Gregorian clock, that we're supposed to wake up in the morning and have breakfast, and then we eat lunch at a certain time, and then we eat dinner at a certain time, and all of that. And now people are doing fastings, and I think that instead of trying to force our body to take in food when we say that it's time to take in food, if we listened to when our body was hungry and only ate the amount of food to make us full, and that's it, like we don't have to you don't have to eat an entire meal 6 times a day. But like for me, I eat tiny meals. It starts about 10:30 in the morning, and I'll start eating because everybody's like, you got to eat before this time of day. And I'm like, but I'm not even hungry before that time of day. Like, why would I do that to myself? But yeah, so, and I think that it's very important, and the intuition is a huge part of that is, and again, going back to the distractions, and we can't even hear our intuition because of all the noise, blah, blah, blah.
It is a lot of noise for sure. And I think also your eating and the way you eat will change over time in your healing journey. I found that when I was suffering really badly and I was seeing a naturopath, she was saying you should have protein right in the morning, so eggs and avocado and whatever. And that wasn't me, but I stuck with that for a while because she said that I would gain weight if I didn't eat like that at like 6 a.m. having like a huge protein filled thing. And over time, I came to understand that doesn't work for me. Like I don't feel my best when I eat like that. So I switched it. So in saying that, it's gonna switch. You're going to find what works for you if you just keep digging hard enough,
Right.
And really,
and I think it's very important. Yeah, definitely very important to make sure, because it's been, even before I knew I was sick, I've been on this healing journey for a couple of years, and trying to move more and eat better and all of that, like before the crescendo of it this year. And so, because I could tell my body was not doing well. I was very sick a couple of years, in 2019, or the beginning of 2020, I was really sick. And so I've been trying, and I tried a gluten-free diet. I tried doing keto for a while. I tried doing Whole30 for a while. And it wasn't just to lose weight, it was to lose weight and feel better, but I knew that I would feel better. But at the time, I also didn't realize that my environment was really stressful, and the people that I thought that I could count on were not actually people that I could count. I mean, like, it was just the whole of it. It wasn't just what I was eating, it was the survival mode, and everything had came to a head, basically. And I think it's just so amazing how if you allow yourself to look back at your life, and you're like, and you kind of pinpoint all of those moments and all of those times where you think about it, and you're like, man, like all of this has led up to where I am today. What am I going to do about it? And, I mean, like, I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure that you're questioning yourself, and you're like, because you don't want to go back.
No,
I know that I'm never going to go back to a life where I'm answering to other people to make sure that they're feeling better about who they are. And that's a really big part of healing
And I think when you are starting your healing journey from any point where you are, I think that just even feeling the symptoms and feeling things and feeling your emotions with that is really the call to connect back with your intuition. I really do feel like that, because if we don't feel what we're feeling, then we aren't going to move forward. We're going to disconnect and cope. How are we coping? Well, we're disconnecting, and we're coping with foods that don't align with us, or people that don't align with us, or work that doesn't align with us. And so it's a big call to be like, I feel anxious. What is going to make me feel better in this moment?
And that is a huge, I have been in and out of hospitals my life with mental health issues as well. Through my 20s and my 30s, both. I went through a lot of that. And, I think it's extremely important to remind people while they're going through treatment, because treatment is very, very important. I'm never going to take that away from anybody for mental health, but to not let it just be about the medication. Like, make sure, because a lot of times when we're going through mental health crises, It is
Mhm.
because the people in our environment, the work environment that we're in, the whole, we have to start looking at the entire picture, at the whole of
Yeah.
it. And like, I think, and I mean, I know for sure that even as like I've talked about the south node and the north node axes shifting. And I think as we shift into this new one, the beginning of next year, the whole work week is going to change. Like money is
Yeah.
going to start looking different. The work week is going to change. And I think that it's because people are tired of being really fucking stressed all the time. And like,
Yeah.
they're starting to see, and this pandemic showed us just how stressed out we were, that
Yeah.
everybody was like, oh my God, we literally are being forced to stay at home and relax.
Yeah. It's weird. It was weird at the beginning for a
Yeah.
lot of
Because
people,
people
but
are like, well, so, but what do I do? It's like,
because I
I don't
feel
know.
like the work, like going to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday was glamorized. It was like
Yeah.
you have purpose if you do
More
that.
than that, working 60 hours a week is glamorized.
Yeah, yeah. And now that's broken down completely. And we find value in being home, being with ourselves, taking care of ourselves. And I think
Mhm.
now a lot of jobs are actually turning remote for sure.
Oh yeah,
Nobody
definitely.
wants to go back into the office right now. And I think that that is for a purpose and for a reason.
Yeah, I've really seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to do this
I'm
with
just
me.
happy that you invited me on here. This was a blast.
Yeah, it was really, I had a lot of fun. So if you want more of us, because we have so many more things that we can say about this
Oh my
topic, it's
God.
insane. Like, come hang out on the workshop for us. All of that information is in the description box. And also all of Priya's information, if you would like to contact her for any of the healings that she provides, any of the readings that she provides. I mean, she's personally worked, we work with each other. Like that's how,
Yeah.
so I know that, I mean, I would never like say, send anybody, to just for you guys to go to. So make sure that you check out her website, and if they can email you with any questions they might have as well, I'll put
Absolutely.
her email. All of her information is down there. So I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out
Thanks so much,
during
guys.
this Love Movement podcast. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.